A new kind of connectedness?
The family with technology shall never be parted. This is Future Tense from American Public Media. I'm John Gordon. The internet and cell phones are bringing family members together rather than creating isolation, according to a new study. University of Toronto sociologist Barry Wellman and researchers from the Pew Internet and American Life Project say that, based on a recent survey of more than 2,200 adults, the traditional nuclear family has the highest rate of technology usage among all household types. Wellman says inside those families, parents and children are using cell phones, texting, and email to forge a new kind of connectedness.
There had been real fears, certainly going back as far as Robert Putnam's book, Bowling Alone, written in 2000 with data up to about the mid-1990s, that said people just weren't communicating nearly as much with each other. And we set out to evaluate that in this study. We were particularly interested in how connected husbands and wives and parents and children were, and we found they're using a variety of tools to be connected.
So tell me exactly how the data dispels the myth that the internet and other newer communications technologies are destroying families.
We find that a lot of people call each other every day, and we also find in another study we've done with Pew that people on places like assembly lines where they weren't able to have contact before are actually using that to communicate, or using their cell phones to communicate now in ways that never were going on. There's a lot of checking back and forth among parents to coordinate and to schedule, and it's much less the old dad goes off to work and comes back at 6 o'clock notion out of Dick and Jane. It's much more interconnectivity all the time, although at nights and weekends people do spend a lot of time together.
And the respondents in your survey tended to self-report that they didn't see any communications problems in their families as a result of the reliance on these tools. In fact, they all felt pretty good about it, right?
Generally, they felt pretty good. There's always a few who don't. I know in my household it's an issue. My wife thinks I spend too much time looking at the computer and not at her. But we checked for that because there had been a lot of fear-mongering saying that the internet was not making communication authentic, was driving people away from reaching out and touch somebody. And what we found in this study, and consistently in a whole bunch of other studies, both the Pew and myself have done, is the internet's really a supplement. It's an enhancer. It fills in the gaps between people seeing each other face to face. It's the opposite of a destroyer. And that's not just my spin on the data. If you ask people, is it a good thing or a bad thing? It's about a 5-to-1 ratio by saying it's better rather than saying it's not so good. And a lot of people just said, yeah, it's all right. We use it.
I imagine some folks would make the argument that, yes, it's good that families are communicating more as a result of a lot of these digital tools, but the conversations couldn't possibly be as meaningful or nuanced as they would be if people were together more physically.
Yeah, that's right, if you think of it as a substitute. But generally it isn't. It's a complement. Almost in every case, people say they use the internet to fill in the gaps in between when they say each other.
Barry Wellman is professor of sociology at the University of Toronto. While many survey respondents said technology has had a positive effect on their family lives, they also said computers and the internet tend to blur the distinction between work and home, causing them to have to work longer hours. This is Future Tense. I'm John Gordon.